Fresh headaches right now for Hillary Clinton. We're going to tell you all about it. Law enforcement right now telling sources at Fox News that FBI agents believe, quote, that lots of new emails relating to Hillary Clinton were found on former Congressman Anthony Weiner's computer. I'm Trish Regan. Welcome, everyone, to the Intelligence Report. They do believe that some of these emails were classified. So what does that mean? Liz McDonald joins me right now with her reporting. Liz.
Yeah, we're hearing the same thing from our sources as well. And what the Clinton campaign has been saying was these are duplicate emails, they're backup emails. But what we're hearing is that these are new emails. They're not duplicate. They're not backup emails. And the question is now, are any of the 33,000 emails that Hillary Rodham Clinton's campaign erased? Staffers rather close to her worked on, because they were deemed personal. Whether they are on these laptop devices and computers used by Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner, and whether any of those emails had classified information in them.
Okay, so just to back up for a second, a lot of people were saying, James Comey shouldn't have opened this investigation because he doesn't know what's on Weiner's computer, to which I've challenged, because I think that, if you're James Comey, you're not going to just open it if you assume they're talking about, what do you want to have for dinner tonight, hon? There had to have been a little bit more there, and sources are telling us, yes, in fact, there is something there. We just don't know exactly what yet. People are looking for these 33,000 emails that she bleach-bitted away, if that's a verb. I guess now it's becoming one.
Like Google.
But you can't fully bleach them, because if you've gone back and forth with someone else and they have found that person's computer, theoretically, then they still exist.
Yeah, that's right. So the question was, should James Comey have come forward and made the statement in July? Should he have come forward on Friday of a week or so ago and made those statements? There's a debate about that. But separate from that is, what is the FBI dealing with behind the scenes? And we know that when James Comey came out and made that statement in July, he did say, quote, "We do assess that hostile actors, meaning foreign governments, gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton had been in regular contact with," meaning that Secretary Clinton was basically emailing people with, say, Yahoo or Gmail accounts, and those accounts were hacked. So there's that concern always over, basically, at the FBI, that they're very concerned that there was this transmittal.
And look, I mean, Podesta said to her in one of these emails through WikiLeaks, hey, basically knock it off with the intelligence information that could be going back and forth. We can't be doing this over email.
Not on this channel, yes.
Yeah.
But, well, that was when he was advising the president and she was no longer Secretary of State. But, Dennis McDonough, who's chief of staff for President Obama, warned John Podesta back in 2008, listen, you got to do a better job at encrypting this information. So you're right, Trish. Is this an ongoing concern? Yes. Have former FBI and Department of Justice officials talked to Fox Business and said, yes, it's a deep concern at the FBI that the nation's secrets could have been hacked? Absolutely. That's their #1 worry right now.
Elizabeth McDonald, thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, in a sign the Clinton campaign is definitely getting nervous about this race, let's keep in mind these polls are narrowing significantly. They are just 1.5 points apart right now. So she's getting nervous, and all of a sudden her surrogates are now campaigning in states long considered safe bets for Democrats. Of particular concern here, African-American voters who need to turn out in high numbers if Clinton is going to have any shot at winning, which perhaps is why she's going after Trump. Well, one of the many reasons she's going after Trump very hard in this race. It's just what she keeps doing over and over again. Here she is moments ago.
He has spent this entire campaign offering a dog whistle to his most hateful supporters. He retweets white supremacists and spreads racially tinged conspiracy theories.
Okay, and if you caught Clinton just moments ago, she basically said the same darn thing all over again and said, it's going to be bad for women, it's going to be bad for everyone. We cannot allow this kind of change. So is that really going to influence people enough to get out and vote? Can you scare them? Joining me right now, Mark Serrano, the president of Proactive Communications, and progressive radio host Chris Hahn. All right, Chris, does fear work?
Look, I mean, fear is always a part of the campaign, but I differ on who she's going to attract with that. That message is not necessarily for African Americans and Latinos. She's already got them. They're voting in 2012, 28 numbers. That is for suburban white women who do not want to be associated with the campaign that may or may not be associated with white supremacists. So that's what she's trying to do there. She's trying to convince those people in the ring counties around the cities, in those suburban voters, that they shouldn't be with him because those voters are very concerned about electing somebody who may associate with David Duke and the KKK.
He has distanced himself pretty firmly from that, Chris. And I would only ask you, don't they have some concern about potentially voting for someone who could be theoretically indicted, who might be potentially impeached if they are president?
I would be very concerned about Donald Trump being impeached or indicted if he became president. He's got 8 audits going on by the IRS.
You know what I mean.
He's admitted to that.
FBI
We should be equally as concerned.
No,
Audits are investigations.
Let me rephrase it. Isn't this news impacting the polls? And therefore, isn't it going to impact voter turnout? Chris, and then over to Mark.
Absolutely. It is impacting the polls. It will impact voter turnouts. As I said to you last week when this was breaking, Trish, this is going to excite his base and get more of them out to vote. Whether or not that's enough to carry them across the finish line, we'll learn on Tuesday. I don't think it is. Mark probably disagrees with me.
Mark?
Do you think? Let's start with Chris's claim that black voters will turn out to the same level as 2008, 2012. Holy smokes, Chris. That is so out of line. I can't believe you said that. Look, this is one of the biggest problems for the Clinton campaign is turnout among African Americans. This may be their complete worst Achilles heel, particularly in states with urban centers like, for instance, Pennsylvania. Look, take a look at the trend lines of this race. And take a look at Hillary Clinton's own words. And take a look, Trish, the thing that they can't lie about is where they're traveling to shows how desperate they are. The
Look,
state
Mark,
that they thought were wrapped up.
This is why President Obama was saying in North Carolina, look, you've got to vote for her if you want to vote for me because this is my legacy. And he's trying to get people excited because, fundamentally, she's just not that exciting a candidate, or it's all the scandal news that's plaguing her this week? Which is it?
Yes and yes. Look, Barack Obama can try as hard as he wants, but these folks on Tuesday, they are not going to get out to vote, many of them, because Barack Obama is not on this ballot. That's Hillary Clinton's biggest problem. And worse than that, they've got this shrill grandmotherly woman who's just steeped in scandal.
I wouldn't go
steeped in scandal.
Nothing wrong with being a grandmother, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, guys,
but
stay
she
with
is
me.
Steeped in scandal. She is steeped in scandal.
She is indeed. Stay with me. WikiLeaks, speaking of scandal, releasing its 29th batch of emails belonging to the Clinton campaign chairman, John Podesta. Now, as of today, the site has leaked more than 47,000 emails, just shy of the 50,000 that was promised before Election Day. The latest batch of emails appears to show a heated exchange between former Secretary of State Colin Powell and top Clinton aide Cheryl Mills. So apparently Powell did not want his name associated with Hillary Clinton and her scandal and her campaign. Right now, we go to Blake Berman, who joins me now with more on this.
Hi there, Trish. Yeah, the latest WikiLeaks batch appears to show an early warning from Colin Powell to a top Hillary Clinton aide against citing Powell as part of Clinton's email explanation. I'll take you back to an email dated March 8th, 2015. This, as you might remember, was days after that initial New York Times story. Well, top aide Cheryl Mills receives an email from an address shortened to the initials CP with the following, and here's the quote. Cheryl, good talking to you. See link. You really don't want to get me into this. I haven't been asked nor said a word about HRC and won't unless you all start it. Well, that link was attached. Was a Breitbart article detailing how Powell's use of a personal computer for government business wasn't comparable to Clinton's situation because Powell did not use a private server. Earlier this summer, Powell had reportedly griped about how the Clinton team was trying to pin her problem on him, a concern that had been first voiced, this new email shows, a year and a half earlier. However, Powell, as we know, came out publicly last month and announced that he is supporting and voting for Hillary Clinton. A separate email today, also, Trish, getting to this real briefly, shows that top campaign aide Sarah Latham was admitting to the campaign chairman, John Podesta, that the number of donors to Clinton's campaign had been at one point publicly inflated. After Clinton's October 2015 Benghazi testimony, the Clinton campaign said unsolicited donations at that point had been pouring in after Clinton had testified. They said they had hit 500,000 unique donors. However, Latham writes to Podesta the following, quote, "Turns out it's not 500K, it's 420. We're not going to correct it, but not leaning into it either. Not leaning into it." And you see the exclamation point, that basically saying, hey, look, we're not going to go correct it. We're also not going to jump into it as well.
All right. Blake Furman,
back to you.
Thank you so much. Mark Serrano and Chris Hahn are still with me, and I want to talk about these polls here because, people said that he couldn't do it. Chris, the media was just writing him off as essentially dead. The obituaries were being filed, and here we are now, just a few days out, and he is within a point and a half of winning the collective average among the polls. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I mean, polls do narrow. I'm surprised they narrowed as much as they did. But they do narrow late in the election. People come home to their partisan ways at the end of the day. They stop voting for third-party candidates. They stop saying they're undecided. I expect this to be a very close election, but I do expect Hillary Clinton to win by 3 points. And I think she's going to actually win one red state, maybe Georgia, that has not gone for a Democrat in a long time. I also think she's going to lose Ohio. So we'll see what happens.
Georgia, do we have Georgia that we can show people? Because that race has been, people thought that she had a shot there, but it's not clear that she really will. Mark, what are your thoughts on basically the states that we need to be most focused on to determine who's going to win this thing Tuesday night? So Florida,
it's so interesting.
North Carolina, Ohio?
Yeah. Look, I think Florida, North Carolina, Ohio are very, very likely to go with Donald Trump. So really, you look beyond those and you have to take a look at Nevada and Iowa, which are very much heading in his direction. New Hampshire is very, very important in this race. That second district of Maine is very, very important.
He's up there in New Hampshire today.
Absolutely. He's going to be up there in New Hampshire. Probably his last stop on this entire campaign may be in New Hampshire. And there's a reason for that. Those 4 electoral college votes could actually decide this election. So I would take a look at those states. Look, Donald Trump, if he gets Nevada and Iowa and New Hampshire, Trish, along with Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, he's got 270 electoral college votes. He wouldn't, in that case, even necessarily need Virginia, Pennsylvania, or Michigan, which he also might take one of those.
Those are the toughies.
He's too far behind in Nevada to win Nevada at this point.
He's catching up there, though, too. He's catching. You say it's the early voting. Okay.
The early
people made their mind up before they knew about the whole FBI thing. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? That's a good thing for her. She banked it. You know, campaigns matter, Trish, and this is Donald Trump's biggest problem going into a close election. He does not have the organization to pull out votes. He has not been banking early votes. She has the organization.
So why didn't that hurt her more in the primary if that's the case, Chris?
Well, she won the primaries based on that. She won California based on that. She won Nevada based on that.
I'm saying, why didn't it hurt him more in the primary?
Actually, Trish, if you look at the final polls in each of the primaries he won, he underperformed by 1.8%.
Not Florida.
Chris, wait a second, though, Chris.
Go ahead.
You take a look at where she is traveling. She is on defense. She is in a very, very bad place heading into the last weekend of this campaign. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he's actually going to blue states. That's just the travel schedule doesn't lie. It shows you that the Democrats and the Clinton campaign are rather desperate at this point because of the trend lines of these polls.
Wow. Well, it's going to be an exciting one to watch. It is going to be close. We're not going to be able to say it's over till it's over.
But he should go to Georgia because he's going to lose it.
Oh, please.
Chris, thank you. Absolutely right. It is a close race going into this weekend. And here's a programming note for you. We're going to be here all weekend long. I'm going to be here at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Intelligence Report. Tonight, I should point out, we are releasing the new Fox News poll at 6 p.m., so you'll get a better sense of where things are in this race, and we will be watching it all weekend long live here on Fox Business. All right, take a look at these pictures, everyone. These are just coming into us. It's the Trump headquarters in North Carolina, and it was vandalized today. This is the second time in a month that a Republican Party office has been vandalized. You'll remember that earlier this month, this office, we can show you, in Hillsborough, North Carolina, was actually set on fire. And they said it's the Trump supporters, right, who are inciting all this violence? Makes you wonder. All right, reports today that Paul Ryan may step down as Speaker of the House after this election. That would obviously be a major shakeup.
Hey, everybody.
to the Republican Party and its leadership. Does it need to happen? Will he go? We got the details on this story next. All right, big news out of Washington today. The Hill reporting even if the Republicans hold on to the House on Tuesday, Paul Ryan may step down. It would certainly be a major shakeup in the Republican leadership. Although Ryan is denying the report to Fox News, there are these rumors. Joining me right now with his thoughts on all of it, Fox News contributor Charles Hurt. Charles, good to see you.
Good to see you, Trish.
What's the thinking here? I mean, why would he step down if, in fact, the GOP is able to hold on to the House?
Well, it's interesting about this. It's actually less important about the House races, just because I think that it's a near certainty that the Republicans will hold on to the House. The more important thing for him is what happens at the top of the ticket. And he's in a bad situation either way. If Donald Trump wins, Ryan is kind of the loser because of the way he has failed to support Trump and the way he has distanced himself from Trump. It's a real bad situation. Of course, if Donald Trump loses, then he's going to be blamed by everybody for not helping and for being part of the reason that he lost.
So you think that this is quite realistic then, that he could step down because of this no-win position he's in?
Well, it's funny, actually. The part of it that I find unrealistic is that he will be the one that makes the choice. I think that it'll be the Republican membership that'll make the choice. And I think he faces he could possibly face a real uphill battle in getting the votes he needs to win speakership again.
Charles, it's kind of remarkable if you think about it, because he was really seen as the next generation. He was this rising star. And Donald Trump has single-handedly managed to really start to change everything. And regardless of whether or not he wins, and as we keep pointing out, look, it's going to be very close, and he's now within a point and a half. But regardless of what happens, there is change that's coming to the Republican Party, Charles.
And the thing about it is that Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney and all these Republicans, they missed these crucial issues that Donald Trump has magnified and run this improbable, spectacular campaign on. And the Republicans, with huge support from grassroots Republicans, and these Republicans completely missed all of it. The other thing that
I was just going to jump in there to continue your point, because it's an extremely important one, in that Donald Trump has managed to make the Republican Party again seem as though it is a party of the middle class, much like Reagan did.
Yeah.
I mean, in recent history, in recent years, it's seen as elitist, it's seen as the one percenters, the Mitt Romneys of the world, and even the Bushes struggled with this, being sort of seen as silver spoon. I mean, Donald Trump is a billionaire. He's got more money than any of them.
He's more of a golden spoon kind of guy.
With the average American, in terms of the hardships they face, the challenges they face, trying to make it every day. And that is a mantra that needs to be taken forward.
Yeah, and I would argue that the real schism here that everybody's talking about is it's not Donald Trump's fault. The real schism is the fact that Republican Party establishment for decades now, they've not been listening to their supporters. They've not been listening to their grassroots voters. But one other thing I was going to say, Trish, that I think is going to be very interesting to watch is, Paul Ryan was on the ticket last time, and the ticket failed to win Wisconsin. If a miracle occurs and Donald Trump comes close to winning Wisconsin or actually wins Wisconsin, I think that Paul Ryan's days will be numbered at that point.
Well, he's got to be feeling the heat these days. Thank you so much, Charles. Good to see you.
Thank you, Trish.
All right, the chief Washington correspondent over at CNBC, John Harwood, you see him there. He was caught cozying up to the Clinton campaign again. In an email to Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta, Mr. Harwood writes, "Thanks for the chance to meet with Hillary this week. I did my best to lobby for first econ interview." Okay, well, he wants to get an interview with her. You get that. He also gave some advice to the campaign, however, warning them about Ben Carson, saying, quote, "Watch out. Ben Carson could give you real trouble in the general Maine." Now, you'll recall, of course, that John Harwood was widely criticized after he moderated CNBC's Republican debate last year. Take a listen and remember this one.
Let's be honest. Is this a comic book version of a presidential campaign?
It's not a comic book, and it's not a very nicely asked question the way you say that.
I talked to economic advisors who have served presidents of both parties. They said that you have as much chance of cutting taxes that much without increasing the deficit as you would of flying away from that podium by flapping your arms.
Whoa. All right, joining me right now from the Media Research Center is Dan Gainor. And, you know, I want to point out, I know John. I've always liked John. I know his politics, which is far more to the left. I guess what I'm taking issue with here, and I'm questioning you about, Dan, is why is someone like that actually on stage asking a question to the Republican field like that? And how is that allowed, frankly, by a network? I mean, how can you be the chief political correspondent at a place when you so clearly have an agenda?
Well, thanks, Trish. This is the major mindset of the media. And so it's not like he stands out. He's not a flaming Michael Moore leftist. He's just standard, fresh from the factory, media biased liberal. Mm-hmm. And so I think what happens is the people who chose the debate moderators on the GOP side were trying to scratch around the edges, see if they could salvage what we all know is a failed system. The current system of having so-called neutral journalists do the debate has failed for everybody except for Fox. And that's not a system that
I mean,
that
at
should
this
be
point, would you
maintained.
say John Harwood is more, and again, very, very nice guy, but clearly has a bias? Would you say he'd be better off as a future as a commentator? I mean, just come out and say it, right?
Well, I mean, he works for the New York Times. They openly said that they've shifted their news media organization toward making one candidate win and one candidate lose. They are not neutral. People work at the New York Times, including several people I used to work with, people I consider friends.
What has happened, Dan?
There.
I only point this out because I think in old school journalism circles, you at least kind of tried a little bit to pretend that you didn't have a personal stake in all of it and you weren't rooting for one side over the other. And now it feels as though actively organizations that were formerly prestigious organizations really are touting one candidate over the other, Dan.
Well, one, things haven't changed all that much. It's Walter Cronkite's 100th birthday today. And, remember, he very famously said the Vietnam War was unwinnable right after we won the Tet Offensive. And he worked behind the scenes with Democrats then. Helen Thomas did it. Edward R. Murrow did it. It's not new that the people who lead the field are
maybe we're just exposing
lefties.
It more then. I mean, maybe, WikiLeaks has basically caught this fellow over at CNBC twice in a situation where he's really reaching out to the campaign in a way that it's pretty borderline, Dan.
Well, it's not just him. It's across the board. I found 8 instances of times where the Clinton people, through WikiLeaks, were sure stories were going to be good before they were even published. You've got the communications people from Team Clinton saying, oh, we're positive this is going to be a good story. And we're talking about
So in other
CNN.
words, they've located their friends amongst the media and they'll only talk to their friends.
Well, no, it's that most of the media are their friends.
Sure.
It's not that they'll only talk to their friends. It's that they could pretty much toss story ideas out to the mob, and they're all their friends, pretty much.
It's amazing to see. I sometimes wonder how it is or why it is. To be debated for another time, Dan, because we're out of time this go around. But thank you so much. Like having you here.
Trish.
All right, remember the Intelligence Report and our entire team here, all of us at Fox Business. We are live this weekend. Make sure you tune in. I'm going to be right here on this set on Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have a very big weekend coming up. The polls, as we've said, are narrowing, and it looks as though Donald Trump, the guy nobody thought had a shot in the world, is really giving Hillary Clinton a run for her money. We have fair and balanced coverage. The other guys do not. Stay with us. I'm back in 2. Well, we got a rather lousy jobs report out. Surprise, surprise, the economy adding 161,000 jobs. Hey, at least we're adding, right, in the month of October, but it was less than expected. And as I have said over and over again, you got to be adding 400,000 jobs a month. And those need to be full-time jobs with benefits in order to really even just account for population growth. So we are still in no man's land. The market doesn't quite know what to make of it. We've been down, we're up, we're barely up right now, 22 points. It's trying to avoid its first 9 straight day losing streak in 36 years. Let's take a look at crude oil, by the way. Closing out the week here at $44.07 a barrel, loss of 1.3%. It's oil's 6th straight day of declines amid skepticism that OPEC will cut production to deal with the oversupply. Shares of CBS right now surging after a strong earnings report. We're going to have more intel in 2. I'll see you right back here. New York rapper Jay-Z out there introducing President Obama during his run for re-election almost 4 years ago today. And guess what he's doing now? Today, returning to the campaign trail, this time on behalf of Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee tries to mimic Obama's previous success in Ohio. But I got to ask here, how on earth does Hillary Clinton go out there and claim to be a champion for women when she's using a guy like Jay-Z as her surrogate? I mean, profanity galore, disgusting. I mean, I just read them again, and every time I read them, I get a little upset. Horrible lyrics about women, and he's been doing this for 2 decades. Okay, here's a song. Maybe we've bleeped a few things out. Maybe it's okay enough for you to hear. It's called 99 Problems. Listen.
I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one.
All right. You know, I don't even want to see it anymore. So he's bleeping out the B word a whole lot there. He certainly uses it a whole lot. I would just make the case that he kind of seems like a poor choice for a role model, don't you think? I mean, this is how you want to recruit women and minorities? I guess fundamentally I have some problems with this, and so does Todd Starnes. Yes. I gotta tell you, I mean, I shouldn't read this stuff. We can't say it on the air. If you want to go look up Jay-Z lyrics, please do, because you'll probably feel just like me. I don't understand how you go and use a guy like this when you're out there saying you're a champion for women, because this is anything but women's advocacy.
You know, Hillary Clinton, she portrays herself as a sanctimonious church lady in a white pantsuit. But when the lights go down, she turns into this political party girl doing the diva twist and shout. And I think people are starting to see through that. And we've seen this time and time again on the campaign trail. It's political pandering. But on this particular issue, it's really puzzling because Michelle Obama just a couple of weeks ago was talking about how she was shaken to her core by all of the language that Donald Trump was using, talking about and referring to women.
Right.
And yet at the same time, this is the same person who brought her daughters to a Jay-Z concert. And now Hillary Clinton, the great champion of women, is having Jay-Z at one of her campaign events. It's just simply outrageous.
It's such a double standard. The hypocrisy is over the top. Why aren't there women calling her out on this?
Well, they ought to be, but quite frankly, many of those women, Hollywood celebrities, are doing the same thing. Just a little while ago, another video dropped packed with celebrities doing this song, and that is just filled with profanities, dropping the F-bomb, GD, using the name Jesus Christ in a very derogatory manner. And these are all celebrities trying to get out the vote for Hillary Clinton, trying to motivate her base. But at the same time, I think we have to remember that this is a double standard, and the mainstream media will not call her out on this hypocrisy.
I mean, you know, to say that this is music or to say that this is poetry when all you're doing is taking a whole bunch of profane words and throwing them out there. I just, you know, and she ought to know better, but I guess she just doesn't care. And
Trish, lest the mainstream media accuse you of being selective, Time magazine back in 2012 went back and looked at all of Jay-Z's music. More than 50% of his songs include the B word in the lyrics. So we're talking about a guy out there who is basically abusing women verbally with his music. I mean, this is really disgusting stuff.
It absolutely is, and it's disgusting to me that people buy it, listen to it, and basically it's all reinforced. Somehow that's just all okay, and Hillary therefore is part of that by bringing him on as a campaign surrogate in that way.
And the question has to be asked: if what Donald Trump said, as disgusting as it was in that bus, if he had been rapping those words instead of saying them, would that be okay? Because that's exactly what Jay-Z's
Todd, you know it wouldn't, and the reason is because there's a double standard, period. Todd,
exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Trish.
All right. The #1 issue for voters. Let's get back to the economy, okay? It is the economy. In today's jobs report, it brought some more dismal news. You get more people dropping out of the workforce. They've just given up finding a job. The economy has been a winning issue for Donald Trump. So here he is looking at another lousy jobs report. Will he capitalize on it? How much is this resonating with folks? With just 4 days to go, we're on it after this. All right, the economy. It is the #1 issue for most voters. And guess what? We just had another dismal jobs report. So what is that going to mean for this election? The economy, we added jobs, 161,000, and I'll tell you that's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's far less than people were looking for. And take a look at this. This is very alarming, and it's a trend that has just been quite stuck there. The unemployment rate, the number that shows how many people are actually working, it dropped. Rather, this is the labor force participation rate. I can tell you the unemployment rate actually looks quite healthy overall. But one of the reasons for that is because people have just dropped out of the workforce altogether. 62.8% of people, that's how many are actually participating in the workforce, and that's the lowest level that we have seen in decades. Now, Donald Trump out there reminding voters just a short time ago, this is why we cannot afford another 4 years of President Obama's failed economic policies. Here he is.
Nearly 1 in 4 people in their prime working years are not working. After 8 years, Obama is the first president in modern history not to have a single year of 3% growth. For millions of Americans, it's an economic nightmare.
All right, joining me right now for more analysis, Executive Vice President of the Cato Institute, David Boaz, and President and founder of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist. Good to see both you guys. All right, Grover, you got a choice, higher taxes, lower taxes. Which policy do you like better?
Well, we've actually listed all of
that, but you know, for the viewers.
We've listed all of Hillary's taxes on hightaxhillary.com. So if we can't list or discuss all of them in the few minutes we have, go look up hightaxhillary.com. She's got over $1 trillion in tax increases she wants to impose on Americans. She has a specific tax she's endorsed on people who make less than $120,000 a year, only on middle-income people. That's the Bernie Sanders tax hike that she endorsed. She would be devastating to what's already a lousy economy. You mentioned that issue of labor force participation. The red chart here, the collapse in labor force participation starts and continues with Obama.
No, I wonder if we can zoom in on that. I don't know if we can do that, but you know, that's very interesting to see there. It's gotten really bad. I mean, at levels that we probably haven't seen since the late 60s, early 70s. David, you know, I know you're the less regulation, the better kind of guy. You also prefer less in the way of taxes. You know, you got two choices. You have not been a Donald Trump fan, but given the policies itself, if you separate his personality from the policies he's putting forward, where do you come out?
Well, you can't separate the character of a president from the election. But leaving that aside, everything Grover said about Hillary's taxes, regulations, debt is absolutely true. Are to destroy free trade, to destroy global trade, and to interfere with immigration and the supply of labor in this country. So I think both of them are promising to be disastrous for the economy. And if you believe that Donald Trump is committed to a supply-side tax cut, do not listen to anyone offering you a bridge for sale.
All right, Grover, in which you say, to which you say?
if Trump wins, and it looks like it's more 50-50 than one would have thought a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago even, there will be a Republican Senate and a Republican House. Trump's tax plan is almost identical to Paul Ryan's. It would take you an afternoon for those tax plans to be put together. And the other good thing about the Trump campaign that I was very pleasantly surprised by is the quality and seriousness of the transition team that they've put together. You have Ed Fulner from Heritage. The people doing regulatory reform are really good. The tax folks, there's some very good stuff.
It's what this economy needs right now, in your view, Grover?
A lot less in the way of regulations, and Donald Trump says that, but when his team that's being put together is actually working it through, there's some real quality there. We're going to see real deregulation beyond what we were able to do even during the Reagan years, which is impressive.
David, does that bring you around at all?
Look, for 15 months, Donald Trump has made it clear that the only thing he cares about is disrupting global trade and deporting immigrants. And Grover knows that those are very bad policies for the economy.